What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Russell Journal. My name is Russell, and this is my journal entry for Monday, December, December 26th, 2023. I'm sorry I haven't done one of these in the last couple of days. As you can tell, I'm getting over being sick, and then we had the Christmas holidays. There wasn't really a lot going on. The things that did happen last week, we did get the PCE inflation numbers. Those numbers look good. Not fantastic, not exactly what you need to see that inflation's over and that, everything can rally all the way back to all-time highs. But you did get, you got a 4.7 on the core. With interest rates hitting 4.5% in this month and going up, you got January before February. The Fed doesn't meet again until February, so you get another set of inflation data before the Fed even meets, and so those numbers, you've got a shot for those numbers to really finally come down, dial back, and actually be functional. The other thing that's kind of cool about it is it's sort of happening without all the rigmarole that you've got your doom economists out there. You've got you got your Tom Lees of the world who no matter what this stocks only go up. And so you've got both sides of this business right now. As far as our country's concerned, you're handling the situation. Yeah, it's been painful to some degree. You didn't have as much disposable income because you were putting your money into your gas tank or other things, but you also didn't have to do any of the things that you did, the traveling and stuff like that. You could have dialed it back, and it wouldn't have killed you. So I mean, as far as America goes overall, in at least to the middle class, it's really not the end of the world. Sadly, most of our media will have us trying to be convinced that it is the end of the world and everything is political and it's all over, right? None of them, I think, are to be believed, to be honest with you. So I don't want to go too much into any of that. But what I do want to say, anyway, where I'm trying to go with this, I'm trying to find a segue into a different subject, which is really where I want to focus a lot of my time and energy today is the idea of really formalizing what a trade setup is, what a trade setup looks like. If you caught any of my show last week, I've connected with somebody through Twitter, and we're working. He's coaching me on some of the stuff, and which is something I think I've needed, and I'm going to begin helping you by offering his services and stuff like that to you guys, but he and I have discussed a lot of things, and one of the things I think is really key to understanding, especially when we talk about the news, and I bring this up because I am going to talk about a couple more news items. News is a hard thing to trade on. Because whatever a news item is worth tends to be already priced in by the time you get there. There's a common saying on Wall Street that says, buy the rumor, sell the... I remember, a couple years ago, Tesla had their battery day, and they made a big news announcement. They came up with, this nickel offshoot that was going to make producing batteries cheaper, faster, and longer lasting batteries. Not quite the solid state battery that I think everybody really wants. But you have this event, and everyone's like, oh, it's going to be great, it's going to be amazing. When they announce that, the stock is going to go up. Well, stock ran up like 100% before the day even happened, and then the day it happened, it all sold off. Well, why did that happen? Well, because they already figured out what they were going to announce. They figured out the value of it, and they priced it into the stock, how much that was really worth. And so there was time to take profit when the actual news hit. So that's that's what makes these news events very, very hard. But if you're a trader out there, one of the things I noticed for me that was really, really challenging is that whether or not that's going to make the market go up or down. And then I will bias myself, wind up either completely ignoring the indicators, or I'll be completely caught off guard that it didn't go the way I thought it was going to go and unable to pivot into the opposite setup. And this is really, really challenging for me, and it's something that I really haven't even considered. And working with this coach, he's kind of helped me point out that, like, you take this unduly bias that is really counter to your setup, because it negates the setup. You get short because you think the news is bad, or you get long that. Where did your setup fall in? You're just trading the news at that point, and essentially that is the screen's all backwards. You're not looking at the analysis over here going like, well, what are we doing, right? A catalyst is good or bad, valuable or not. There's some things out there. Inflation gets to 9%. It's bad, man. Like, that's not hard to say, but like, where do you trade off of that? None of the catalyst stuff out there does tell you where do you go short, So now I bring all that stuff up because we do need to talk about the fact that Putin wants to start pumping the natural gas back to Europe, falling back in line, and good. We should let this happen. Should make it happen, and we need to find a way to get justice for Ukraine. We should have this happen. And especially because even though Putin's a dictator, even though he's that, the people of Russia, from what I can tell, didn't want this war. They didn't try it. And a lot of them tried to protest it, and it didn't seem like they were able to stop it. So that's the first thing, and I think that the other thing is, like, to be honest with you, they should get to kind of like gut the Russian government or something. The Russian government's going to have to make concessions, so they can't just go off attacking people because they feel like they want shit. Okay, I genuinely think that Putin. I genuinely think that they should end it. They should make it as amicable as possible. And get things going pretty good, and worry about what consequences Russia does have to pay, what justifications they have to pay later. So anyway, we don't know though at this point whether or not the war is going to end or not. Russia has tried several times they have gone to the table with the peace talks. Or said they were going to, or said they wanted peace and wanted to end the war. They've said they wanted that many times, but nothing has availed out of that. So, anyway, it could mean a rally is coming in the stock market. It may not. We'll see what happens. Again, I don't know how many times he can cry wolf on that either. So, and here it is. Again, whatever the news is doesn't matter when your indicators indicate the buy or sell signals. So, all right. So we're going into this week. We're going to look at the charts a little bit and take a look at things. You can see behind me we have a weekly chart of the SPY or Spider. Why is this like this? All right. So you look at the week. You had yourself a nice little doji week down here. Small candle. And that's kind of sort of, interestingly enough, you get down here far enough and you get that little doji candle then. Usually that's starting to put in some type of bottom, from what I understand of that. I don't know that matters that much. I really generally don't care. But you do have, you're sitting there right at the 18-week moving average, which means coming to the end of the year, you've gone down to the 18-week moving average. you're kind of hovering there and you don't really know what to do. Hasn't figured out what's the next thing it's got to price in, and where you're going to go. Now, again, looking at the news, your inflation's coming down. That's good. It's not, you don't know how sticky it's going to be or how hard it's going to be to come down, how long the Fed's going to have to keep these rates high as they are. You don't know. It could be a year. The idea that you're going to start pivoting out of higher interest rates by June seems a little insane to me. But again, I'm not a banker, so I don't know where it'll all fall apart at, or where it'll all come together at. And as of right now, with employment as low as it is, again, really, and this is the thing that I think is really funny. I think the next fucking Michael Burry in the world is going to be the guy who figures out how this thing's going to be a fucking soft landing. Like, everybody and their dogs out there crying about a stock market crash. And you got the other assholes on the other side, the Tom Lees of the world, that, like, for no reason, S&P will go to 5,000. Fuck those guys. Like, right, you want the rare thing? You want to be the smart guy out there? Figure out how this thing is going to be a soft landing. How everything's going to be okay, right? That's where the real money's at, finally. The rest of y'all just, Mega Millions is at 565 million. That's the power. That's the thing. If that's what you want, if you want to be the one that could be the next Michael Burry, just go buy a Mega Millions ticket, because you're gonna do just about as well, I think. Anyway, so that's my little 2 cents on that. Again, absolute bear market. The other thing too that you can see here is you've definitely got your inverted head and shoulders still. You've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're almost ready for that. That could happen around February. That wouldn't be a big deal. Even March, have this thing go back in, have the whole inverted head and shoulders thing play out, which I think is kind of the one thing you got to be wary of when you look at measured moves. Is a lot of times there's 2 things that happen. Is like this thing just sort of forms itself. It doesn't cause anything, right? Like, measured moves don't. There's not a bunch of fucking bankers sitting around, or like traders. All of them are like, oh my God, look, it did this, so we're all going to go and buy it to the moon because the head and shoulders inverted. This could very easily turn into an actual head and shoulders. 1, 2, go over here, put in a third peak, and give you another leg lower. It's asinine. But prices move up and down. It creates peaks and valleys. At some point, you're going to see the inverted head and shoulders, same as the actual head and shoulders, right? And honestly, this only plays out 60% of the time. So again, inverted head and shoulders is not a trading strategy, just so you know. That's, as far as I'm concerned, I've played them all at this point, and I'll tell you, I've had one of these ever work out. It was a good win when it did, but only one of them. That was a shit last year, almost a year ago. Anyway, so that all being said, kind of going in, so you're at this 18-week moving average. You're sitting here on the edge. We need to go over the daily chart and take a look at that. Okay, so on the daily chart, there's a couple of things that are really interesting going on. Obviously this big sell-off move down here, caught yourself a little bounce, and really where you're stuck at is you're underneath the 100-day moving average right here. And one of the other things that's really interesting here is this is your 18-day moving average. It's about to come underneath the 100. So all of your averages are about to stack to the downside. Now, when that happens, I've done a little research on this, and when that happens, normally what you're going to do is come back here and take out this low. Okay, so if this 18 gets underneath this in any significant way, you can be looking at breaking that recent low. Will that happen? I don't know. Okay. But they're just things that I think about as far as Not as far as the setup goes, but as far as the market, I would say dynamics. What the feeling is around the market, the emotional state of the market. That's really the main reason why I look at this, because having an idea of that really going to tell you is gonna influence you correctly in kind of which direction you want to be biased towards the long side or the short side. What I will say is, let's go ahead. I want to turn on the Bollinger Bands really quick, and we're going to talk a little bit about this. So with the Bollinger Bands on, this is the way the setup normally runs here, okay? Normally, what you're trying to do is short off of the mean and catch the ride to the lower Bollinger Band with my setup. This is, and if you can do this on like a daily time frame, you can make a big chunk of money doing that. You can do the same thing with like shorter time frames. What really indicates the trade, whether or not to take the trade or not, is really this momentum thing right here. Okay, the momentum is really what tells you where you're looking for as far as like price targets, support and resistance goes. As far as I'm concerned, that's where you manage your risk and stuff within your trade. But what indicates whether or not you take that trade is the slow stochastic. Once it breaks a certain way, this is when you enter your trade. So it's not like normal or penny stock support and resistance trading goes, whereas you say, well, you get a break above the resistance level. You get like a breakout trade setup, or a momentum trade setup, where you get a break above a certain price level and then look for it to keep running, right? Like high of the day breakouts or even, that sort of trading setup, that with penny stocks. When you're trading, especially when you're just trading SPY itself or one stock only, I only ever really trade SPY. But when you're doing that, I'm not playing level to level like that, right? Because I don't think the market is playing level to level like that. I very rarely see that or feel that or experience that. Or when I've tried, again, something where I've tried to do it, it hasn't worked very well for me. And I think it has something to do with a bit of my style and psychology. And I've tried to do it, I have tried to do it a couple ways. One of the things my video where I've lost $1,000, a lot of what I tried to do was hedge off of those levels. I was trying to create this sort of infinity setup where you're constantly pushing and pulling against each other. And it didn't work. It really didn't. It did to some degree. We got up into this mess up here. It just butchered that account. I didn't know that was going to happen or that it wouldn't work in that setup. And I probably should have used paper money, not real money, to do it. Going forward, I'll be using a lot more paper money and things of that nature. So as far as where we go with SPY, okay, so you're down, you get this, you cling to this lower Bollinger Band, you're holding it, shorting it. The one thing I want you to see down here, slow stochastic is starting to come up out of here. Now, what that typically means is that if you lose this embedded reading, you're going to make a run for the next main moving average. Okay, now normally that's the 18-day moving average or 20-day moving average, whichever one you use. I like the 18. It's a little shorter, a little faster. But for us here, our main moving average is actually going to be the 100. And what I actually really think is going to happen, and again, not going to take trades based on this or not. Well, I will. I'll probably take profit a lot here. I think you're going to get caught between that 100-period moving average and the lower Bollinger Band. That's what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to try and tie it up in there, tighten that range up, and close these bands together in order to make a big move in one direction or the other. I don't know which one the one direction is or not, but I imagine it will take most of January. I think that's probably going to happen. It's going to take most of January, and it's going to lead up into the next Fed meeting. That's what I think is going to happen. I think January is going to be kind of a repeat of November. I think you're not going anywhere too fast, except for I do have my crash thesis. If you're interested in that, let me know. I'll be happy to chat with you about that. But none of that really involves the trade setup. That's all kind of completely different here. Again, coming into the technical analysis of this, your VIX is low. Your VIX is really low. So your volatility is pretty low, and which is good for me. I got a small account. I need cheap contracts right now. So a low VIX is going to be good. So the idea that you're going to try and run back up here and challenge these highs, you might try and challenge the bear trend line right here. This has been pretty adequate. Normally I don't buy into a lot of these, but they do work. They do work to some degree. And the other thing that's really cool about them is when you see them, you mark them, and usually what's really interesting is they will break them. It's really funny because you see you hit this one and it just came down, but it went back up, right? And so like this whole thing was like a huge freaking head fake to put a lot of pain to whoever was still short the market. And now they're like, oh no, why did I trigger my stop loss for my short trade? And that's what they did. They basically just tripped stop losses and then psyched out, and this is the market does like to cause pain to people, guys. Like it is. It's a psychology trick, a lot of it. So again, now a couple other things you want to look at. Let's go to this thing. Okay, so our trend is down. Our trend is down. So you have lower highs over here, and you now have lower lows, right? Problem over here, though, is you just on Friday put in an inside candle, okay? Inside candles are often seen as a sign of a reversal, okay? So we've been going down. You could be headed back in the upward direction, or at least you're going to catch another move up. I have heard that they're just simply a sign of range tightening. That is a possible thing, because this is potentially just a bear flag down here. Not a classic one. It's a little wonky, but it could be. So really kind of looking at that, how that's all playing out. So I don't know too much as far as like what I think this market's gonna do. I think you're gonna waft. That's what I think. I think you're gonna bounce in here between the 100-day moving average and the lower Bollinger Band. That's literally what I think you're gonna do. I think you're gonna go into earnings season. I think they're going to be looking at earnings. They're going to want to see how bad those earnings are. They're going to want to see you got that, and it doesn't start. It starts like the second week of January, so and which is right on time with like sort of my thesis that you start to see the layoffs finally start ticking up then and really moving into real recession territory second, third week of January. And next week, I will have a better idea as to when, and I need more data as far as when and how I think that's going to happen. Again, not a trade setup, just so you know. Just commentary on the market. That's all that is. So, anyway, that is really kind of what I'm thinking. Again, tomorrow I'm probably going to be really thinking on the long side of things, even though we're down. That little guy right there makes me think, there's probably easier on the long side, because that does typically signal a reversal in that different direction. But we'll see. I may not trade it all tomorrow. Again, I think a lot of your volume is gone. Your big traders are on vacation. They're off in Europe skiing the Swiss Alps or doing whatever that is. I don't think that they're over here. I don't think they're here. I think that they're not around. So, but I think they will be back probably right after New Year's. I'd say probably a week from tomorrow. Look out! This market's gonna make some big moves. Not this week, but next week. I don't think you'll get. If you'll get the Santa Claus bump. You're not even gonna get a Santa Claus rally. I don't think so. That's my opinion as far as that goes. I think I'm sticking to it. And Russell Journal, written, edited, hosted by me, Russell Liss. We're produced by Social Media Shows. Our executive producer, Maria Pereza. If you're interested in a show like this, put a comment in the comment section if you want to do your own show. She can help you. You don't even have to live in Las Vegas. She can, if you've got a web camera and a freaking computer, she can help you put this together. So, anyway, until tomorrow, go ahead and pretend I said some sort of catchphrase.